Let's learn how practically we can apply al-Ikhfaa. Today we are going to practice with letter Zaa. As we always mention, we are going to practice Ikhfaa with letter Zaa, so we need to look to the three elements that we have. But before this, we always have three probabilities of Ikhfaa. Maybe comes with tanween, Ikhfaa comes with tanween, or maybe the Ikhfaa happens between two different words, or maybe happens at the same word. So let's practicing the examples that we have. Okay, so for the first probability we mentioned, we are going to practice Ikhfaa with the tanween, means that between two words. The three elements that we need to look at is the letter before the tanween, which is the sin sound, and then tanween self, and then letter Zaa after that. So what we are going to do, we are going to move from the sin articulation point, the letter before, letter noon or tanween, then get ready to read letter Zaa, keeping the tip of the tongue away from the noon articulation point and closer to the letter Zaa. Keep this position for 2 counts, then go to next letter, which is letter Zaa. It will be nafsanz, nafsanz. So again, pronounce letter sin, the letter before noon, then get ready to read the letter Zaa, which is the letter comes after letter noon, and keep the tongue away from noon articulation point and closer to the Zaa articulation point. Produce the two counts on this position and make sure that the tongue should be away from the Zaa articulation point, and the noon articulation point will be nafsanz, sans, and make sure the sin and Zaa are the same articulation point, so you should do it like this. Nafsanz, sans. The tip of the tongue should be touching the back, the inner part, or the inner part of the lower teeth, in truth, but don't depend on it, on the Zaa sound, on the sound of the Z. Don't make it like nafsanz, no, it will be nafsanz, like this. After finishing 2 counts, go to the Zaa after that and make the sin, and go to the Zaa after that. And this is the Ikhfaa with letter Zaa. Nafsanza, sanza. Don't make it as a sanza or sangza. Both are wrong. Next example, next probability that we have Ikhfaa comes between two different words, or come in between two different words. We need to look at the three elements that we have: letter before letter noon, letter after letter noon, and letter noon itself. What we are going to do, we are going to move from the m sound, which is on this example min zawal, mim sound, to the Zaa sound, but don't make the noon clear sound, nor push the Zaa sound clearly as well. So it will be mi, min. The tip of the tongue should be away from the gums for noon articulation point. And the sound of Zaa, we are going to keep the tongue closer to its articulation point, and making the sound comes from both mouth and nose, both together. Mouth and nose, both together. Min zawal. After finishing the sound for 2 counts of Ikhfaa, go to the clear Zaa after this. Min zawal. The third example that we have, if we have Ikhfaa on the same word, let's determine the 3 elements that we mentioned: the letter before noon, the letter after noon, and the noon itself. So in this case, in this example, we have Hamza and Zaa. What we're going to do is making the shift between the 2 letters, like a, z, okay? Then put the tip of the tongue, or hold the tip of the tongue away from noon articulation point. The tip of the tongue will touching the Zaa articulation point, but I'm not going to depend on the sound. So it will be a, anz. So the tongue will be held in between the noon articulation point, which is here, and the Zaa sound, which is here. So that keep the tongue as its position, but make the sound comes from the mouth the same as comes from nose. Anz, anz, anzalnahu. So this is the 3 probabilities that we mentioned for today. So this example is pronounce letter Hamza, which is the letter before noon, then get ready to read the letter Zaa. Keep the tongue away from the gums of the noon articulation point. So it will, in this case, on the zai case, we will keep the tongue on the same position. Let the sound comes from both mouth and nose together for 2 counts. Then get clear zai after this. Hope you find it easy today. Jazakumullah khairan for your watching. Catch you next video inshallah. Make sure if you need any help, please just send me inshallah. Jazakumullah khaira. Subhanakallahumma rabbana wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.